Welcome to Mobile Math, math lessons on the go. Today's learning goal, by the end of this lesson, I should be able to divide a decimal number by another decimal number and get a result that has a remainder. And again, I will do all of this without the use of a calculator. So quick reminder, division is a shortcut for repetitive subtraction. One of our big ideas, as discussed in previous videos, was that equivalent expressions or equivalent fractions is the idea that two sides of an equation can have the same value or magnitude but look different. So in this case, 17.5 over 2.5, if I was to multiply both top and bottom by 10, would turn that into 175 over 25, but multiplying top and bottom by 10 is essentially the same as multiplying by 1. So I have not changed the magnitude, but I have changed the appearance, which is a big idea that we will take advantage of in the next few examples. So let's take a look at 28.5 divided by 1.6. So how many 1.6s fit inside a 28.5? So we could do this with group subtraction. So if I had 10 groups of 1.6, that would be 16. So I'll mark that down as 10 groups. If I subtract those, I'm left with 12.5 or 12.5. So I could take away a few more groups of 1.6. So let's say 5 more groups of 1.6 would be 8 total, and I'm left with 4.5 after I've done that subtraction. I could take away 2 more groups of 1.6, and I am left with 1.3. Now here's where my first remainder shows up. I do not have enough to continue subtracting 1.6, so my final answer here will have a quotient on the top of 17, but I also have a remainder of 1.3, so I could write that as 17 and 1.3 out of 1.6 as a remainder, but we tend not to mix decimals and fractions together unless we're really desperate. And in this case, we're not, so we're going to try this with the long division method, and we're going to remove the decimals by multiplying both numbers by 10. So you can see in the upper right-hand corner, I will multiply both values by 10, and I will turn my problem into 285 divided by 16. So I'm just going to move this answer over here to the side, and we'll compare to what we get with the long division method. So I need to know how many 16s fit inside 285. Well, again, I might use the long division technique here or the group subtraction, whatever your preference is. I'm going to use long division because I can see one group of 16 fits inside a 28. I am left with 12. I bring down the 5. I have 125. So how many groups of 16 fit into 125? Well, I'm going to look at 7 of them. I'm going to take some information from the group subtraction, and that's okay. So that is 112. When I subtract that, I am left with 13. So you'll see some similarities in the numbers here. So the final answer from the long division would be 17 whole units and 13 sixteenths. So if you compare these two, you'll see they're very similar. They are, in fact, the exact same magnitude. They just appear a little bit different. Okay, so let's divide the following. 24.9 divided by 4.5. So I could do this with a group subtraction method. If I look at 2 groups of 4.5, that's the same as a 9. So I'll keep track of those on the side. As I subtract, I could see that is 15.9 left over. I could subtract another 2 groups of 4.5 for another 9. I'm left with 6.9. And then lastly, I can see I can't do 2 groups of 4.5. I can only do 1 group of 4.5. And when I do that, I end up with 2.4 left over. So I have 5 total groups of 4.5 or complete groups, but I do have this remainder. So I have 5 complete groups and 2.4 out of 4.5 left over. And as I said previously, we don't generally like to have decimals and fractions mixed together. So we'll pop over to the long division side here, and we'll try this problem with some larger numbers. So I'm going to take the 24.9 and the 4.5, multiply both of those by 10, and turn them into a 249 divided by 45. So I need to know how many 45s fit into 249. So again, I might just borrow a page from the group subtraction I've already done. I might do 2 groups of 45 is a 90. And when I subtract those, I'm left with 159. And another 2 groups of 45 is another 90. I'm left with a 69 left over. And then I will subtract a group of 45. And I am left with 24. So if I count all of these up on the side, I have 5 complete groups of 45. But I also have 24 out of 45 that were remaining as leftovers. So if you compare, you'll notice that they're really just out by a decimal place. So I have the same answers, but with 2 different appearances. Okay, so let's divide the following. So 20.8 divided by 3.125. So a lot of decimal places here, but we're going to do a little bit of work to try and remove that problem. So I could do this with group subtraction, but I'm going to avoid all those decimal places, and I'm going to convert this into 2 numbers that have no decimal places. So to do that, I'm going to notice I need to move my decimal place over 3 placeholders. So I'm going to times both the top and bottom by 1,000. Okay, and that turns the problem into 20,800 divided by 3,125. So I'm going to start with, let's try 6 groups of 3,125. So I might come over to the side here and do my multiplication if I'm having trouble seeing what it is. So some of those skills we developed earlier in previous videos can be really useful right now. So 6 groups of 3,125 is the same as 18,750. So when I subtract those, I am left with 2,050. And you'll see that I don't have enough to subtract another group of 3,125. So I have 6 whole groups. I'm going to get rid of the 6 here. 6 whole groups of 3,125 fit into 20,800. And I have 2,050 as a remainder out of the needed 3,125. Now, that's a fairly large decimal, and we'd like to think it could reduce, and it can, and I know that because it ends in a 0 and it ends in a 5. And in the fraction videos, we'll spend a little bit more time on how we reduce equivalent fractions. But for now, you're going to have to take my word for it that that's the same as 82 over 125. So if you want to press pause on the video and try the following, so please press pause now. Okay, welcome back. So I have 30.6 divided by 4.8. So you'll notice I'm using my equivalent expressions. I'm changing this into 306 divided by 48. So I will look at 5 groups of 48, which is 240. If I subtract those, I am left with 66. That's 1 more group of 48. And I am left with 18. So I have 6 complete groups and 18 48ths left over. Okay, let's look at the last one here, 6.8 divided by 2.5. So again, I'm going to use the big idea of changing this expression. So I'm going to multiply both numbers by 10 and turn this into 68 divided by 25. So I can see right away that 2 groups of 25 is 50. And I'm left with 18 as a remainder. That's not enough to subtract another group of 25. So my final answer here would be 2 whole units and 18 25ths left over. So thank you for watching. Please watch again and pause where you may have had difficulties, and good luck in your future math problems.